Are you a service-based business owner looking to increase profits to fund your lifestyle? Well, this podcast is for you. We bring you inspirational guests sharing actionable tips to solve many of the struggles you face each and every day. And now, over to your host, Paul Higgins.
Hello to the Build, Live, Give podcast. If you're a first-time listener, welcome. And if you enjoy it, please subscribe. If you're a regular, thanks for your support. Love to get your feedback at paul@buildlivegive.com. It means the world to me when you do. Our guest today is someone who's worked in the software industry all of their career. They've worked on so many projects, but in particular, Microsoft and Pearson, the big guys. He believes in the art of building relationships and supports people who are riding the trends of virtual coffees. It's where it's all happening. Why listen? How to build human connections on LinkedIn, how to use Sales Navigator to find your ideal clients, and how to get 50% connection acceptance to your outbound messages and 20% response rate. So over now to Manuj Aggarwal from Tetra Noodle. Welcome, Manuj, to the BLG podcast. Brilliant to have you on, Manuj.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here with you.
Yeah, well, I know it's a bit of a special day because you're on my podcast, and I think I'm lucky enough to be on yours later in the day. So a lot of podcasting between you and I today.
Yeah.
But I always love to start with something that your family or friends would know about you that we may not.
Well, one thing they know about me is I'm a big foodie. I love food, and I love to travel to different places, try out new cuisines, new ways of cooking familiar dishes, and I just love that. So
great. And what are some of the places you've been to and the foods you've had? Some of your favorites?
I went to Europe and tried a lot of different kinds of meats. Went to New Zealand, Fiji, and they have all their traditional dishes and the way that they cook. I think in Spain, I tasted rabbit for the first time, and that was amazing. Wherever I go on a beach vacation, the seafood, like different types of seafood and how they cook it. It's just amazing how people around the world, they have utilized the local resources and came up with, exquisite dishes just using the ingredients that are available in the vicinity. So that has been an amazing experience.
Yeah, well, look, I certainly won't eat rabbit ever again. Growing up on a farm, unfortunately, we had a lot of rabbit. And it was never optional, so for me, it's not a delicacy. But yeah, I do remember, in Spain eating a lot of things that I basically had to shut my eyes for. But I'm similar. But unfortunately, for here, based in Australia, I think it'll be a long time until we get to travel again. But I do really look forward to that again. And I know I counted up on LinkedIn, and I might have missed a couple, where you've had at least 11 companies that you've either worked for or contracted to. So you've had such a vast experience and so many roles. I know most of them have been around software, but we won't go through all of them because it'll take the whole 30, 40 minutes. But just give me a quick summary of some of the key milestones in that wonderful career journey of yours.
Sure, yeah. Well, primarily, in my software career, I have worked with a lot of startups. And when I say startups, they have been like true startups, which are, an individual entrepreneur come up with a brilliant idea. And then they have been startups within larger corporations. So, I worked on a very large project within Microsoft, worked on a very large project within Pearson Education, some government organizations. So what they did was, as these large companies, they see the trajectory and the growth of the startups, they want to adopt similar methodology in how they do work. Because as you know, large companies can be slow sometimes, but if you use the same principles that they use in the startup world, you can move rapidly, and more so in a larger company because they have more significant budget. So the project that I worked for with Microsoft that handled their global enterprise licensing division. So they had tremendous amount of budgets. I mean, we are talking about a business unit which deals with like billions and billions of dollars in annual revenue. So they have decent budget to hire a very significant team and execute this project at a rapid pace. Again, for Pearson Education, that was one of the most significant project in terms of growth that I have worked on. So that project went on for about 5 years. We took it from zero to $400 million in sales and revenue within 5 years. And that was an amazing experience. Now, granted, the bulk of the revenue came from the existing enterprise customers from Pearson Education, but to be able to scale a startup at that level and support millions and millions of users around the world, that was the most significant sort of experience that I've had in the private sector.
Great. And what was the product? What did consumers purchase?
Yeah, so Pearson Education is primarily a edtech company. I mean, they are one of the largest publishers of textbooks in the world. And, as this was back in 2005 or 6, they realized that print books are not going to be the thing that will carry them forward. So it was almost like, how Kodak never realized that they need to go digital, but Pearson Education back in 2005, they decided that other than printing books, they also need to go digital and provide material in electronic format. So, we built a huge platform for students starting from kindergarten right up to higher education, PhD levels, where once you purchase the book, you also get the material in an online format. And in fact, what we noticed through our usage, more and more university professors, more and more teachers, they preferred online platforms because it provided a lot of flexibility and a lot of efficiency in terms of how they taught, and also for the students in terms of how they absorb the material. And then we went on and added a whole bunch of artificial intelligence, a lot of cool patented ideas for personalized learning. So it was a very challenging but very rewarding project.
Excellent. And all through this time, you were consulting. Is you running your own business, working in these multiple projects? Is that right?
That's right. Yeah. So we provide technology leadership and implementation guidance, architecture, those type of things. And at that time I was working with another significant client, which is Ministry of Health in Canada, and we were digitizing the healthcare system within Canada, and our province or state was the first one to take the lead within Canadian healthcare system. And those were two major projects going on at the same time, and that was really really crazy time for us.
Excellent. And who have been some of your biggest supporters through your career?
Yeah, I mean, I've had good luck in finding a lot of great mentors, great coaches. Back in, when I was really hardcore into software and IT, I will say, a significant portion of my bosses, they were actually, really good mentors and supporters. I take pride in the work that I do, and so they notice that, I put quite a bit of effort and I come up with innovative ideas. So they recognize me for that, and they, put me in leadership roles, which paid off tremendously in building up my confidence and, showing me the way how global corporations, they work with these large objectives and how they bring new products to market, how they grow the product market share and things of that nature. So that was a huge learning experience across the board for me.
Great. Well, we'll go into the build section now. And I know that we first got in contact through looking at LinkedIn outreach. So, you've got a fantastic platform, and I think it's something, very unique. So when people ask you, hey, Manuj, what do you do? How do you best describe that?
Well, so what I describe it as, we use technology to help you build relationships with key decision makers in your industry. So, we have our own proprietary system that we use for networking, and it is, I'm biased, but it is unlike any other system that is available out there. And it actually is geared towards, we use a lot of applied psychology. We use a lot of sort of human emotional elements when we build our technology for networking. So rather than automating things and spamming people, we believe in having very deep, meaningful conversations which build these relationship at scale. So that's what we do, and the way, obviously, we are going through some unique experience globally, which has caused business travel to come to a halt, which has caused all these face-to-face meetings to be postponed. And so the way that we work is we take that same experience in real in-person meetings and taking them into a virtual world and building those relationships.
Great. And what do you know about building relationships on LinkedIn that many miss?
Well, one thing I will say right off the bat is, people have this misconception about automation. So, everybody on LinkedIn or other social media platforms, they think automation is the silver lining. So they are, using systems like DuckSoup and some other automation tools to send thousands and thousands of messages to their prospects. But it's kind of obvious to see that when we receive these automated messages, we get annoyed ourselves and we don't pay too much attention. So in without realizing, we are doing the same thing to others. So let's say we send 100 automated messages and 80% of those messages end up annoying the recipient. And so those 80 people are never going to be looking at our stuff. They're never going to be becoming our prospects. So that those bridges are burned. Now the rest of the 20%, yes, you may get some leads out of that, but majority of them will get ticked off, right? So if through a little bit more effort and some technology, as I said, we have developed proprietary technology to tackle this. But if you can send similar messages which are more personalized, which are more sort of which encompass more human touch and individualized, personalized approach, then all those 100 will actually be a pleasant conversation. Like, obviously 10% of them may not turn out to be pleasant, and the rest of the 90%, even if they don't become your prospects today, at least you haven't burned the bridge, and you can carry on that relationship down the road, 6 months, 1 year, whatever it is, and it may turn out to be a good relationship at the end. So using technology to avoid this massive automation and work in favor of a personalized touch is what we do differently, and that's the differentiator that has worked really well for us.
Yeah, and I think an audio podcast is always hard to really visually show it. But where can people go to see a demonstration of your platform and what you're talking about right now?
Yeah, so we have few websites where you can see a few glimpses of this. One is I have written extensively about my entrepreneurial journey, and it's a fairly long case study on Medium. And the URL to get to that is innerget.com, INNERGET.com. And towards the end of there's quite a bit of value that I have provided, and it talks about building relationships online and all that. But towards the end of the case study, there is it's almost like a screenshot of the platform that we have built. And then if people are interested in talking to us about using this service, then they can go to socialsellingrocket.com. That's a website which is a done for you service where we take we sort of help you in implementing this system. And then if people want to implement it on their own and just get the education from us, there's a website. You can go to onlinevirtualsales.com and you can sign up for an information session there.
Great. Well, we'll have all of those in the show notes, and I'll refer to them at the end as well if you do want to take some notes. But like you said, there's lots of platforms out there that are being tried for automation, but ultimately it comes down, or a lot of it comes down to that first message. Right. So what have you found to be most successful in sending that first message to get a connection with people?
Yeah, I mean, the way that I look at it is, online virtual interactions are very similar to a real world interaction, right? So just because we are talking to somebody on LinkedIn, it doesn't mean that there's not a real person behind that. Even though we are talking to a profile, LinkedIn profile, so many times we tend to forget that there's a real person behind this. So when we go to a party, when we go to a networking event, we don't start pitching our services. We don't start talking about ourselves. In fact, the way the conversation goes is, hello, how are you doing? Tell me a little bit more about you. I find I like, we can look at their appearance, we can look at what they are doing, compliment on something, and show general curiosity about what they are doing, and that's how we interact with others when we meet them in real life. And so we need to carry that across in our LinkedIn conversations as well, and any online conversation where we say, hey, I checked out your profile, I was looking at your company, impressive work, your company has been in the news lately, or something along those lines. You can compliment them at their photo, or you can compliment them at their tagline on the tremendous amount of experience that they have gained in the industry, whatever it is. And then generally ask them, hey, how are things going? And maybe you want to add a little bit of a context of what people are going through right now, which is this pandemic experience where everybody's working from home. So these conversations are what is going to create a genuine connection. And once you show genuine curiosity, a lot of people, they do want to share their views, they do want to have their perspective known to others. And once you open up that conversation, that dialogue, again, you can present your point of view. You can sort of have an interesting conversation, even if you don't agree with that point of view, and say, oh, that's a very interesting way that you look at it, but how about this? Have you thought about this? This is how we do work, and so on. And only when that conversation gets into a more sort of more fluid, a more organic conversation, you can start talking about your business or services. But before that, just imagine you are at a party and you're meeting a new friend, and have that kind of casual conversation to get to know them better.
Yeah, and look, I call it the hot potato. And obviously, short sentences with questions is the best. And like you said, so often I get a message from someone, I actually reply and say, would you, how's this working? And then would you reply to this?
Yeah.
And I've actually picked up some clients based off that, because then they realise, no, it's not. So yeah, look, there's very few shortcuts in life, and I think trying to just get, like you said, quantity rather than quality on LinkedIn doesn't really work. And so I know that you've given some great links to go to the platform, but are you using Sales Navigator to firstly find the list of people that you want to?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So give us some tips on give us some your hot tips around using Sales Navigator.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Sales Navigator is the best thing. If you're using LinkedIn, I highly recommend that you subscribe to that. Now, before we talk about Sales Navigator, one thing I want to make sure that people understand is, first thing, you have to do two things. One is define your offer, because I have gone through it myself, where I thought, okay, I have lots of experience, I have lots of talent, I have a track record, so I'll figure out what to offer once I connect with people and understand what they are looking for. I don't think that really works well, because now you're going to have to talk to a whole bunch of people without really having a concrete sort of solution in place. So really dial down your offer. And then the next step is dial down your customer avatar, because at the end of the day, your offer is not going to be applicable or useful to 7 billion people on this planet. It is only going to be useful to a very small fraction of that population, right? So once okay, this is my offer and this goes well with this type of people, now you can use Sales Navigator to narrow down and find the exact matches to your customer avatar. So for example, for me, we target successful entrepreneurs, we target executives of large corporations. And so it's very easy for us to use company size as one of the key criteria to say, we want to connect with companies, C-suite executives of companies with more than 1,000 employees, because obviously a company with that size will be the right target for what we are offering, which is helping them with online virtual sales and optimizing their sales pipeline, optimizing their marketing message, and whatnot. And then obviously you can tweak it from there. So you can use geography. So our target is North America primarily. And then one of the key things that I use is number of years of experience in the industry, because again, if we are looking for decision makers, you can imagine decision makers in these large corporations, they tend to have a lot of experience under their belt. Only then they get to the top of the food chain in these large corporations. So for me, one of the key criteria that I use is more than 10 years of industry experience, and that filters out a lot of people who may be in middle management, who may have good titles, but they may not have the decision making power to be able to talk to you, to be able to leverage your offering and services that you have to offer. So those are some of the key things that I use in Sales Navigator.
Yeah, and look, and some of the filters I think are, it's like most things with Microsoft who you've had experience with, and LinkedIn, that they're still a little dated. So especially I think the smaller the business, so more entrepreneurs I think are ahead the way that they call themselves. But yeah, you've got some CEO or vice president or president. It means lots of things to lots of people. So I think that's a really good idea around years of experience. So let's say you've defined your offer, you've got your client avatar, you've gone and filtered people, and let's say, roughly you've got 900 to, 1,000 people. Then what happens from there? What do you do with that list, and how do you start to build those relationships?
Yeah. So from that point onwards is basically, how can I say it? It's a precise target shooting, meaning we look at the contacts in the list and see which ones are actually going to be more likely to become our clients. And then we do individual research on their company, on their profile, and then we send a customized, personalized invite message, which not only talks about their profile, their company, but also talks about a little bit about the current situation or what they may be feeling right now, so that it comes across as we're not sending mass messages, but we really took the time to understand them, and also try to understand their priorities. And obviously, it is not always going to be 100% perfect, but what I have found is that if we personalize the messages, the rate of acceptance goes much, much higher. And by the way, I forgot one thing about Sales Navigator is that when you do a search on Sales Navigator, there's a tab which says people who have been active on LinkedIn for last 30 days. So generally, if my search criteria returns a lot of records, I switch to that tab, because if people are active on LinkedIn, again, they are more likely to check their messages, they are more likely to check their invites, and they are more likely to check out their content as well. So that's one way I try to focus on people who are already active on LinkedIn.
Yeah. And do you use any specific tools to find more research about the company, or are you just relying on what's on LinkedIn and Google?
Yeah, I mean, LinkedIn is really good and because of that reason, because you don't really have to go elsewhere. A lot of information is already available on their profile. Not only that, if there's something that is not available, like a lot of people have very minimalist profile on LinkedIn, so you can always click on their company, and generally there's a company page which talks about what their priorities are, what they're working on, number of employees, and things of that nature, and company news. So these are all the material that you can use. And in fact, the thing is, you don't have to overcomplicate things. The invite itself is about 300 characters, and the first message itself doesn't need to be more than 300-400 characters. So all you really need is one line which will actually send a message that, hey, we're not doing this at mass. We are genuinely interested in connecting with you, and we have done some research. Now, once, these people are like, obviously very smart people, very capable people. So all they need is a hint that, okay, you have done some research, you are appreciative of what they are doing, you are genuinely interested in, and that's pretty much enough to separate you from hundreds of automated messages that they get.
Yeah, and do you do any pre-engagement? So before you send the invite, are you doing anything before that?
Yeah. So, a lot of people have different methodologies regarding that, but one of the things that I have found is that, these pre-engagements and things of that nature, at the end of the day, these are in place to establish some rapport, establish some trust with the potential prospect, right? So that they are more likely to accept our invitation. Now, in order to tackle that at mass, what we do is we publish a lot of useful, valuable content, and we do that on regular basis. And we do not shy away from giving away the best ideas. A lot of people say, this is too valuable for me to share free, but I, on the other hand, we have adopted this paradigm in our company, that whatever the best material is, whatever the best value we can provide, let's share it for free. And that way, a lot of the contact that we approach, they already know my profile, my name, what we do, because they have interacted with our content. Even if they haven't interacted directly by liking it or something, a lot of the times when I connect with somebody, they say, oh, I really like your content, or I have noticed that you post about entrepreneurship. So that way, they already are aware of us, and that way we can sort of cut down on the initial engagement time and just send them a request to connect.
Yeah, look, I'm a big believer in that. I know you know that I run a large community of helping service-based business owners on LinkedIn, and we look at, I call it the 3 Ps. So the first thing is your profile, because like you said, most people, they'll go and look at your profile straight away when a message comes in to work out whether, they should accept or even engage.
Yeah,
Second is the post. They'll go to your posts and they'll look at, is this a trusted expert, or is this someone just, using an outside agency and just spamming? So I think that's really important. Then, like you said, I call it the possibilities of how you outreach. And what are some of the key benchmark or indicators? You talked about connection request acceptance before, but, what should a good outreach or an outbound program, how many people should be accepting a connection request? Is it 20%, 50%? What are some of the indicators that you look at?
From what I've heard, this is very subjective and also depends on the industry, because some industries are more like, let's say if you're targeting banking industry or targeting government agencies, they tend to be more conservative in terms of use of technology, in terms of what is allowed on to be used on the corporate computers and things like that. So in that industry, acceptance rates could be like 20-25%. But generally, I've seen, if you've done really good job in connecting with the right kind of people and sending right messages, I think it's somewhere between 30 to 50%. That's what I've seen. But what is your experience? What do you have? What have you seen?
Yeah, look, we target 50%. So, that's what we sit around. So we look at acceptance rates around 50% and then replies to your messages around 20 to 25%. Yeah. So if you're getting those 2 key things, you're doing a great job. And, I think we're like you, definitely more around the quality than the quantity. So if you do the research, you send the right message and you ask permission, I think that's so critical. You can get great results. So look, as I said, people can find out a lot more. There's the Done For You service, which is socialsellingrocket.com, and then there's the Do It Yourself, which is onlinevirtualsales.com. So there'll be links, or those links are in the show notes, and it's a full transcription of the show notes. So you'll get all of that great value from you. But before we go into the live section, I'd like to talk about our quiz to help you work out if you are running a profit machine or a sweatbox. Go to paulhigginsmentoring.com/quiz and answer the questions in less than 5 minutes. You will be placed in one of 4 percentage ranges out of 100%. Where there are gaps, you are given the opportunity to have a free 45-minute strategy call with me to walk through a clear plan for you. If you're in the top range, you'll be invited to be a guest like Manu is today on this podcast. So go to paulhigginsmentoring.com/quiz today. So the next section is the live section, Manu. So what habits have made you so successful over this brilliant software career?
Habits, reading, being curious, watch a lot of documentaries. As I mentioned earlier, travel is one of my passions. So that sort of gives me different perspectives on how people around the globe solve similar problems. And then obviously, I really enjoy solving problems, unique problems. So that's one of the reasons why I shift from industry to industry every now and then to see, what is going on, how they solve the problems. And that is a really unique experience once you have once you see the inner workings of different industries.
Yeah, and just quickly on that, what are the industries you see that are really booming in these unprecedented times?
Well, I mean, anything to do with technology is obviously going through the roof. But in terms of niches, I say, food, education, information, those healthcare, obviously, those are booming because, these are the fundamental sort of, these are the fundamental needs of humans. So anything that facilitates the basic needs, as we call it, the essential services these days, and it enables it through technology, through social distancing, through the comfort of your own home. Those industries are booming, and I think they will continue to skyrocket as this major shift accelerates.
Yeah, I know. Look, for me, it's been very interesting. I'm not very materialistic at the best of times, but really I've learned to live without a lot. We're in stage 4 here in Melbourne, Australia, probably some of the strictest lockdown or regulations in the world, and it's amazing what you can as long as you've got technology, good food, and your health is in good shape. It's life can be a lot simpler and a lot more enjoyable in a lot of ways. So the next section is the give section. So what's a charity or community that you're passionate about and why?
Well, I grew up in India, and India has made rapid progress in the last 20 years, but still it's not economically, I won't categorize it as a first world country. So there's there are a lot of kids, there are a lot of poor, there's a lot of poverty. So all my charitable efforts are geared towards providing food, providing clothing, providing any essential things that can help kids there to break out of the grips of poverty. So that's what I tend to focus on.
Yeah, and look, the numbers in India at the moment with COVID are just, they're just earth-shattering. Like, and I'm assuming a lot of the numbers. And have you still got relatives there?
Oh yeah. I mean, in fact, my whole family is there. I'm the only black sheep out of that family to venture into this world.
Yeah, and what's it like when you talk to them? Because the media are just saying, I think it's sort of 70,000 cases a day.
Yeah.
I don't know how much. There seems to be a really low testing rate, so it seems to be much worse than that. What's your perspective on the fate of India in the next 3 to 6 months?
I mean, see, the thing is, like, India is very densely populated, so it is a cause of concern. That being said, I don't think humans are different in any part of the world. People just want to socialize. People just cannot. I mean, one of the worst punishments that even prisoners can get is the solitary confinement. So,
yes,
being locked into our homes for months at end is not something that we have evolved as a species for. So people are going to get fed up, and they are going to want to socialize. Now, how much precautions can be taken, and how much they actually listen to the authorities, and how much they understand, what is at stake, is anybody's guess. So India is going to, unfortunately, go through some tough time just because of the dense population. But I'm hoping that uh, as the governments take action and they provide guidance, people listen, and they they help themselves and others to tackle this problem. And yeah, I mean, India is going to be on the top of the list just because of the sheer numbers. But I think this problem is not unique to India. It is going to be spreading across the world. Even in Canada, we are seeing rising number of cases here.
Yeah. Look, and yeah, I think for us here, personally, I think we've gone too far the other way, but time might prove that was the right decision. So the last section's the action section, where I ask you some questions and get some rapid fire responses. So what are your top 3 personal effectiveness tips?
Personal effectiveness tips: communication is the key. Just make sure that you always favor over communication than under communication. And then checking your ego. A lot of things in life can go sideways just because you fail to take notice of it, or dug a little bit deeper to get a different person's perspective. So the more you can do to sort of uh, like put your ego aside when you're building something new or collaborating with a new team or what have you, I think that serves you well. So those are some of the key things. And then reading, just as much as you can read, as much as you can acquire knowledge. And again, a lot of people don't like to read, so I will say it's not the medium that counts. You can watch documentaries, you can watch TEDx talks and whatnot, but continue to learn. The more you learn, the more your uh, frame of references they increase, and you can come up with new innovative ideas to solve problems.
Yeah, so other than your own platform, what is a piece of technology that is essential to running your business?
Oh, I have a huge list. Like, I'm a tech geek, and I always try to automate things. So my team is spread across the world. So tools like Zoom, Google Drive, Dropbox, Slack, um, these are essential for us. So we all my team members, we have Slack, we have WhatsApp, we have email, and any other channel of communication. We have it on our desktops, we have it on our laptops, on our phones, because in a distributed environment, as I said earlier, communication is the key. So these tools help us stay in touch, raise questions, address problems as they pop up. So those are some of the key things that we use.
And the last question's the big one, and that's why I leave it to the end. But what impact do you want to leave on the world?
Well, this pandemic has, in my opinion, sort of shifted the way that we are going to live, work, and play in the next few decades. Never before billions and billions of people sat down at home and production was halted. That's because we did not have access to the kind of technology we have today. As you mentioned, a lot of the countries went on lockdown in March 2020. But if you notice, we haven't missed the beat in terms of how we live. We have electricity, we have drinking water, we have food. So none of those activities stopped. But if you go back in previous pandemics, the only way we could have, we could have had the life normal is by people going and congregating in workplaces. So there was no way to stop the pandemic just because of the sheer necessity. So now, as people realize that, um, we can work remotely, things are going to shift, and a lot of people are going to be caught off guard by trying to do the same thing as they were doing earlier. So my mission is to help people understand there's a fundamental shift happening, and there's going to be new challenges, new problems, and how to solve those problems rather than getting stuck, rather than just sort of not doing anything and trying to implement old methods. Think innovative, new ways of solving new problems. and obviously build new businesses out of these opportunities. That's my goal.
Brilliant. Well, as you said before, you're a voracious learner and you're also great at giving content. So I know there's the podcast, which I'm about to go on, which I'm very excited about, which is Bootstrapping Your Dream. So you can find that. We'll have a link in the show notes. Also, the platform. So one of the things we didn't mention, but the platform, there's a lot of platforms out there. Like you mentioned, one called Duck Soup. There's Zopto. There's quite a few, but they are in breach of the terms and conditions, whereas what you do, I know, is not. So you can, if you want a done-for-you service, go to socialsellingrocket.com. And if you want to do it yourself using the platform or the technology, go to onlinevirtualsales.com. And once again, they'll be all within the show notes. So brilliant having you on today, Manu. I think you've got a unique way of building connections on LinkedIn, and it's definitely the way that I prefer. So it's always good to have a peer come on and give content that's similar, but most importantly, you've got a great platform that backs it up. So have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much for having me and for your kind words, and it was very exciting. Thank you so much for having me.
Excellent. Thank you. Bye. I really enjoyed that interview with Manuj. He has an amazing platform, and I've seen it firsthand. And believe me, once you see, you'll realize the power of it. So check it out. All the links are in the show notes. You can get the show notes at paulhigginsmentoring.com. What is your biggest takeaway from Manuj? Please share it on your socials, mentioning him. If you believe someone you know would benefit from the show, because let's face it, virtual meetings and finding your ideal clients on LinkedIn, particularly outbound, is so important at the moment. So please share it with them. You can find out about if you are a profit machine or a sweatbox at paulhigginsmentoring.com/quiz. Please take action to build your profit to fund your lifestyle, and most importantly, stay well.
Thanks for listening to the Build, Live, Give podcast. If you like what you heard, please share it and leave us a review. It would mean the world to us.